Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
We are now getting into draft pick territory. We've done some of the undrafted free agents. We still got a couple left and all that. Now we've got linebacker, 7th round pick. It's definitely towards the end of the draft. Linebacker Tatum Bethune out of Florida State. Fun player, fun person, fun background. Shout out to Josh for doing the research on this one. He comes in number 61. And in our, rankings, the highest was 59, the lowest was 65. So very, very high floor for a 7th round pick on a talented roster with a lot of linebackers. He's got an uphill climb, but Tatum's going to be a part of this rotation. A lot of that has to do with Dre Greenlaw, right? With the injury, when he's going to be ready, that's going to give these young pups a little bit more of a chance early on. Definitely more reps in training camp, preseason, all those things, but there's a lot of guys he's fighting with, and we'll detail all that stuff. And again, if you recognize this name, Tatum Bethune, that's right. It is that Bethune Cookman, who is the great aunt to Tatum. Educator, started the university down in Florida, civil rights leader, activist, all those different things. Amazing human, and both of his parents are educators as well. And the apple didn't fall far from the tree. You start doing some research on Tatum, Dean's List, academic honor roll, all ACC, you name it. Wherever he's gone, the intellect follows. And so you love to be, a lot of times we get the pedigree with, players in the family, which his dad played at Florida A&M as well. But with Tatum, it's educators, man. Both parents, the aunt, the name, the academics follows with them. And so you love to see that. That is a huge positive for the 49ers, and especially at that linebacker position. If you're going to be a linebacker, you got to know everything in front of you. You got to know the coverages. You got to know it all. So that's what it is. He's wearing jersey number 48 for the 49ers this year. Now, he's undersized, right? Good player, hits hard. He's a thumper. Yeah, you just type into YouTube, Tatum Bethune, Jaden Daniels. You watch that hit, and it didn't take long to see, this guy, violence, aggression, all those things. And it's funny because he even admitted that when he was drafted, he watches Dre Greenlaw, models his game after him, and it shows up on tape. Now, why did he go in the 7th round? He's small. 6 foot, 229, definitely on the smaller side. That's much closer to 1990s linebacker than... And again, I'm constantly going to use this term, the post-Fred Warner linebacker world, because Fred Warner changed it all. It's changed. There's no going back. Doesn't mean that there's not a role for the smaller, undersized guys, because the 49ers, they have 2 types of linebackers. There's the Fred Warner role. There's the Dre Greenlaw role. Well, he fits more the Aziz Dre Greenlaw role. That's just what he is. 6 foot, 229, 32-inch arms, 78-inch wingspan, which actually is, he doesn't have long arms. He's got a wide body, wide shoulders, all those things. That comes across the wingspan. 66th percentile of linebackers. That's huge. Hands, 10-inch hands, big old hands. 75th percentile of linebackers. 23 years old, one of the younger rookies. Ran a 4.77 40-yard dash, which isn't bad, but it isn't good either. And that was at the pro day, not at the combine. So lack of size, lack of speed, that's why Tatum fell to the 7th round. 3 cones, 7.03, not bad. That's really, so change of direction's decent. 30-inch vertical, decent. 16 bench press reps. All right, it's decent, not good. But you enter in all of his measurables on mock draftable. Look at this. The number 2 linebacker that he has the most in common with is Aziz Al-Shire, 89.6% match. Hardy Nickerson, the 2017 one, not the old school one, 86%. Dat Win, 85%. Smaller, instinctual, high-effort type players. That's what this guy is. TJ Edwards fell into that category as well. He's an 83% match there. So, comes out of Miami. Miami Central High School, had a lot of success there. Goes to UCF. Developed a really good relationship with Randy Shannon. Don't know if you recognize that name. He was down at UCF. He had an offer from Auburn, turned that down instead, wanted to stay, closer to home, did what he did. He was there for 3 years and was a starter there. Dean's List, had everything going, then transfers to Florida State for not 1 but 2 years of his final year, started, became a team captain, called plays, you name it. He's that guy, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun watching his tape because, again, old school. If you like old school football, you like this guy. Tatum Bethune is your dude. Violence and just quick trigger. He jumps on all the time. He won the Bobby Bowden Leadership Award. You'd love to see that. In the 7th round, what makes it kind of funny, he even talked about this right after he was drafted. Whenever you're in the 7th round, you've got to be forward thinking as if you're not going to get drafted. So he's talking to teams about undrafted free agent contracts in the case he doesn't get drafted. While he's on the phone negotiating, the 49ers call and let him know, hey, you ain't got to worry about those things. You're going to be with us. Already said that he's had some amazing conversations before he was drafted with linebacker coach of the 49ers, Johnny Holland. That's huge. If Holland likes you, and I've said this for a very long time, since, Shanahan showed up, I think this year, 8.5 of the 49ers Rush podcast, they scout linebackers better than any other position. So if Johnny Holland, you get that stamp of approval, that means a lot. Might take him some time, and again, he's a 7th-round draft pick, so you got to kind of taper your expectations a little bit, but this is a 49ers fit. I already told you, he measures out to be basically Azeez Al-Shire physically with his testing measurables. The mentality, the education, the leadership, the academics, all that's there. The mentality's there like Dre Greenlaw. I mean, come on. And he was teammates with Renardo Green. So you've got a lot of just similarities there already. And Renardo Green was asked, what do you think about being drafted with a fellow teammate, Tatum Bethune? And they were good friends. They actually lived off campus very close to each other, I think, in apartments. But here's Renardo Green, the 2nd-round pick, talking about what it means for him to have Tatum Bethune on the same team.
He's a leader. He's a hard-working guy. He's smart. He's very humble. But at the same time, he's confident. And he's a positive guy. Even when things can go left or kind of hit a bump in the road, he always look at things in a positive light. So
it's kind of nice to know that you have a guy that you're familiar with in the classes with you.
Yes, it is, because we done been in that fire before with each other. We done won together, done lost together, did everything. So just knowing that I got a brother from back at the crib, it means a lot.
It means a lot. That it cut off at the end there. I apologize. That's my fault. You look at his PFF grades just from last year, 76.0 overall, good. 73.6 run defense, solid. 67.4 pass rush, all right, not bad. 73.5 coverage. You're getting a jack-of-all-trades type guy that does have a lower ceiling. Why? He's smaller. 2, he's not as fast. The lack of speed, the lack of size, and, it's funny because I really felt this way with Cody Schrader. I thought that he applied this, Drake Nugent, and Tatum Bethune. Very similar. And I understand Tatum Bethune was drafted, but John Lynch came out before the draft and said, this is not a deep draft. We think there's about 5 rounds worth of, draftable players. I think they see Tatum as a priority free agent. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm not trying to say negative anything here, but I think that he falls more in that category because when the Niners draft these players, especially early, they're looking for traits, they're looking for size, speed, these types of things. That's not where Tatum falls into. He's intangibles. He's Brock Purdy, right? Again, look at Brock Purdy. Didn't have the size, didn't have the elite arm, didn't have, the 40 or whatever. He didn't have any of those things. He had all the other stuff. That's Tatum. Am I saying Tatum's going to be Brock Purdy? No, but the 49ers have a type that they like to go after in the back end of the draft and undrafted free agents. It's football players, it's mentality, it's scheme fit. We'll address the other stuff later, and he's got that. I mean, he was picked 251 overall. There's 11 spots before Brock Purdy, right? He went 262. This is the back end of the 7th round. So you always have to constantly put things into perspective, but that doesn't mean you limit what Tatum can do and what he can accomplish. You look at what he did in his college career, a lot of game tape, man. 339 career tackles, 28 tackles for losses, 7.5 sacks, 10 pass breakups, 4 picks, 2 forced fumbles. The production's there. He did it in 2 separate schemes. And you just look at what he did last year, 70 tackles, 5.5 tackle for loss, 1 interception, 3 pass breakups, 3 hurries. Did miss the bowl game, had an injured arm, but he wanted to play. That's another one. He's going pro. Could have sat out. Nope. Wanted to play. That's who this kid is. Fits the mentality of what the 49ers culture is about. Fits the scheme. Fits the type. Fits up here. Think Dre Greenlaw mentality is Z's body. That's what you're getting. Dane Brugler of The Athletic had a 7th round grade on him. Had him as his number 23 linebacker in this class. Now, whenever we were doing film, which, if you want to see the all 22 broke down, that's already up. Just go to the 49ersrush.com or to our Patreon channel, and you can just scroll down. You'll see it there. Tatum Bethune got the all 22 full game up. It's fun watching them. And again, if you don't want to go through that, just type in Tatum Bethune, Jaden Daniels. I said it earlier. Trust me, and it'll put a smile on your face. Like, yeah, the anger comes through. So my synopsis, aggressive, violent, small, and slow. And maybe not slow is the right word. Lack of speed's probably better, but he's mean, and he shows up. He's quick, very quick twitch, like quick trigger. He recognizes you. You tell he spends time on tape. You tell he diagnoses plays well. That's huge. And whenever he does show up, he shows up with attitude, bad intentions. Wish he had more side speed. I kept typing that in my entire evaluation of him. Backside chaser, he's got the effort. The lack of speed shows. And so the positive is, if you go to Adam Fuller, who's the DC at Florida State, he runs a 4.25. Very similar to what the 49ers do. Very, very similar. And that's probably why you got not one but 2 players from that defense, right? Renardo Green and Bethune. It makes sense. There's not much of a translating into what they're going to do for the 49ers. We run this same stuff. He's going to be doing similar stuff. So he's got 2 years experience in a similar type defense. And so the fit is there. I think early on, special teams, Sam linebacker, that's where he's got that number 3 linebacker spot. That's probably what he's competing for. Coverage is fine. It's not great. A little grabby, but you can say that about every single college prospect because you get away with it. It's called different in the NFL. But coverage isn't a liability, but I'm not so sure it's a strength. I constantly go back to this jack-of-all-trades type guy with a high football IQ, high football intelligence, work ethic, leadership, intelligence. It's just how much are the physical traits going to limit him? Lack of size, lack of speed. But you could have said the same thing about Chris Borland, right? And look what happened there. This dude is way more athletic than Chris Borland dreamt of. But do the intangibles stack up? That's what we got to see. Signed a 4-year deal, $4.1 million, so he's getting about a million per year. Played in 61 college games. A lot of experience there. Now, you look at the linebacker depth chart, which is kind of hard to filter through because of Dre Greenlaw, but the 49ers usually keep 5 to 6 players. Dre Greenlaw is going to be on the PUP, will not count against the 53, so he doesn't count as the 5 or 6. That helps the rookie Tatum. Fred Warner, lock. Devondre Campbell, lock. DFF is a lock. His entire salary is guaranteed, and this coaching staff loves him. Whatever, special teams, I get it, but he counts against the linebacker. That's 3, okay? Greenlaw, like we said, will not count. The 4th one for me is D. Winters. Fred Warner came out and said he had the best, mini camp OTAs of any player, offense or defense. And with Dre Greenlaw out, I think D. Winters is going to be kept no matter what. Whether it gets that 3rd starting spot, we'll save that for the D. Winters countdown episode. But then you get these other guys. Jalen Graham, Tatum Bethune, Zeke Turner, Curtis Robinson. Who can provide the most for special teams and prove they can play that number 3 linebacker spot? I really think this is a battle between last year's late rookie, Jalen Graham, and this year's late rookie, Tatum Bethune. I really do. I think those 2 guys are fighting for a spot. There's a chance they could keep them both, but they're fighting for the same one. Jalen Graham has the ceiling plays. Jalen Graham's more athletic. He's got a bigger body. He's got all those things. But you see what he put on tape last year, inconsistent. Huge splash plays, huge blown assignments, giving up 60-yard rushing touchdowns in the preseason. Can the consistency get there for Jalen, or can Tatum prove, hey, he's got it upstairs. He didn't have to go through the safety kind of transition to linebacker like Jalen did. That is the battle that I want to watch. Tatum Bethune versus Jalen Graham. I like both. And there's reasons to want both of them, but they are very different from each other. Playing the same spot. Jalen Graham's longer, more athletic. Tatum's been there, done that, way meaner, smaller, slower. We'll see how that plays out on the field. Hopefully we keep them both, but we'll see. Fun player. And I do think, being that 7th round pick does not guarantee a roster spot. Does not. So we'll see what happens. And with other teams already offering undrafted free agent deals before he was drafted by us, if you cut him, if Tatum doesn't make your 53, I'm not sure you get to keep this cat. I really, really don't. But I hope the 49ers find a way to do it, because that attitude, you need it in the room. And with Dre Greenlaw going to be off to the side till probably November, December, you could use a little bit more thump in that room. Always more aggressive, more violence. That's what we need at that linebacker position. So Tatum, it was an absolute pleasure learning more about you. Hopefully you come out and impress, and we find a way to bump you up from 61 to something higher next year on the 2025 countdown. But for us, we'll just keep counting them down.